Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's Belle. Today I'm going to be talking about something extremely personal, and I have a few disclaimers before I start this video, but today's video is going to be very heavy. It's a very personal experience for me, and I think it will help other people, and I feel like the same situation goes on a lot, especially in the scene that I'm going to be talking about. It's something that I've touched upon on Twitter, and I've really took a long time to find the courage to make this video, so I do hope that you enjoy and you take something out of it. So let's get started. So my first disclaimer is that I'm going to actually try to monetize this video, and it's not about the money, because what am I going to make? A couple cents? Like, I don't care about the money. I care about it getting seen, and I want my story to be heard, and I want other people to really listen and actually understand how big of an issue this is. And my story is just a very small example of how bad it is, honestly. And so I'm gonna try to censor myself, which is something that I never do in real life and in videos. So if I'm trying to get a point across and I don't have the word for it because I don't want this video to get demonetized, and I start going his or my and whatever, bear with me, because again, I never try to censor myself, so this is going to be new for me. Another thing is I am not going to be using his name. I am not going to be saying the band's name. I'm not going to be using the girlfriend's name. I'm not going to be saying his name at all. And the reason for this is extremely personal, because it's something that I had to actually go through, and I want to talk about it, but I slowly want to step into talking about it in public before I dive right in and make this whole exposing video. That's not what I want to do. What this man did was technically not illegal, even though it is unethical and very, very messed up, and it really hurt me very badly. But on a technicality, it's not totally illegal. I mean, in some aspects, in some things that he did say, it was, but again, not I'm not trying to get him arrested. It's not like Davi, and all those girls. First of all, God bless all those girls. That man is actually a monster, and so is the person that I'm going to be talking about, but in just a very different situation, very different story. Davi is much worse and deserves to go to jail. This man just does not deserve to have a platform, a girlfriend, or have any young girls following him, because he just is not a nice man. He's actually a slime ball, very much. For my own personal mental health, my protection, and just my sanity right now, I'm not going to be saying his name. Also, I don't like how people treat these kinds of stories and situations, and how fan bases will attack the person, or the men are just going to come out and lie and say it didn't happen anyway, and get a fancy lawyer and say oh, all these allegations, I've never done that, I would never do that. Yes, you did. Yes, you would. I have all the proof that I need to actually come forth and present who he is. Just at this time, I don't feel comfortable doing that. So, if you happen to follow me in the past and you just happen to know, that's on you. But I'm not going to be saying his name. I'm not going to be saying the band name. None of that. So let's actually dive into this. Also, I just want to put a trigger warning in, as this stuff is very upsetting to some people. I was exploited in a very bad way, the worst way that you can be exploited, by an older man. I was 17 years old, and if this is triggering to you, or any of these topics I'm going to list here are triggering to you, viewer discretion is advised. So this all started back in 2014, 2015. I was a huge fan of a band, and they are in that alternative emo scene bands, the kind of band that would play at Warped Tour. They were actually one of the largest bands at the time. I've seen them in concert literally so many times, and in these bands, it is a very well-known thing, especially now, and so many allegations are coming forth. Austin Carlisle, the bassist from A Day to Remember, I heard allegations about issues and someone in Paris, and all these bands have been pretty much exposed. Look at Front Porch, that literally the list goes on, and all these bands have a lot in common, and they are all that the men are extremely inappropriate with the young fans. I do believe that this is a reason that Warped Tour was canceled, and that's why I don't support it ever coming back, because Warped Tour was literally a cesspool. And this, obviously, my story ties right into this, as the person that used me was my idol at the time, and he was in a very popular band. He actually still is in the band, and he is not the lead singer, but this specific band is very big, and they've grown even more since this time. The entire band acted extremely inappropriately, but this one specific person in the band was very, very inappropriate with me. And it hurt me a lot, and I'm gonna get into how everything happened. Me and this man would interact a lot, and I felt very special because I was one of those people, like, yes, I was obsessed with the entire band on a whole, but I felt like he was, like, my person. Like, you know how, like, people would have fan accounts on Twitter and stuff? Like, I actually had a fan account of him, and that's not something that I did often. Like, it was just him and that band, and I loved him, and my username was, like, based after him, and I met him twice or 3 times in person. My mom was actually with me. She met him too, and he followed me. He followed my mom. Now just remember this because it's really important, and it gets very creepy and weird. And we were extremely, like, friendly. Like, he would tweet me happy birthday. He would DM me. He would, like, tell my mom, like, oh, we're gonna do something special for her. Like, let's get her backstage. Like, when you love someone so much in that way, it means so much to be noticed by them and to be so, like, personal with them. And it meant so much to me. It, like, literally made me so happy. I literally have a thread of every interaction we had before it got inappropriate and before I, like, stopped being, like, such a crazy fan. Like, as I just got older, I just kind of, like, grew out of it, but, like, I still obviously, like, had him on my wall, and I kept, like, all the things that he got, like, he gave me, or like all our interactions and stuff. It meant a lot to me because it was, like, part of my childhood, because I was, like, 15, 16 at the time. And I met him, like I said, twice or 3 times. My mom was there. It was nothing, there was nothing inappropriate in person. It was very nonchalant. It felt like I was just hanging out with him. He was very personable with me and stuff like that. So at the age of 16, I started going through a really hard time. I talk about this a lot because I was really unwell at this time. That's how I ended up in the hospital. That's when I ran away, right before I got pregnant. And I was really not right. And he knew a lot of this because, like I said, he followed my mom. He talked to my mom all the time, which is very weird. And I just want to say, like, my mom is beautiful, and she's very young looking for her age, and obviously, like, guys think she's pretty or whatever. It did cross my mind if, like, he would flirt with her and stuff, and I don't think that at the time she wanted to tell me that because, like, he had a girlfriend, and he, like, was someone that I looked up to, and I even, like, looked up to his girlfriend too. Like, I really just wanted to be, like, I don't know, like, I felt special. Like, I felt like that special fan that he loved and that he interacted with, which was completely, like, appropriate, like, in an appropriate sense. Like, I didn't think, like, we were gonna end up together. I supported him and his girlfriend. Like, obviously I was so young. I was, like, 16 years old, and he was almost 30, and I would never actually expect, like, us to ever be anything more than a really cool personal fan and, you know, idol relationship. And I don't think my mom wanted to tell me that he was, like, flirting with her because she didn't want to ruin stuff for me. And down the line, it did come out, obviously, but he was very weird with my mom. And that is just such a weird red flag. Like, he gave her his phone number and stuff, and just very odd. Extremely inappropriate. That's not ethical. Like, you have a girlfriend. Her daughter looks up to you, and you're gonna hit on her and try to, like, get with her. It just doesn't make sense, but whatever. Very weird for me to even talk about. Plus, my mom is obviously married. Very weird, and I don't think my mom ever wanted to make a big deal out of this because, again, I was so obsessed with him. I was on a very bad path when I was 16, like I said, and he knew a lot about that, and he would actually message me and tell me, like, give me advice. He would even tell my mom at one point, maybe I could try to talk to her because I know I have a big influence on her. So this is, like, the first thing that is so wrong about the story, is that he knew that I was impressionable and that I looked up to him. Like, he actually admitted that and said that he has an influence on me. And he's saying that he understands and sees my behavior is so toxic and out of control and whatever, and he wants to help, right? And he would tell my mom, like, let me talk to her. Like, it's almost like he was trying to, like, be on good terms with my mom. So if he ever wanted to try anything with me, he could, and she'd feel comfortable because they talk all the time, which is so weird. And I didn't realize this until I got older, within like the last couple months, especially with everything coming out about all these allegations and all these same similar situations of grooming and stuff like that. I see it now, and I didn't see it back then, which most girls don't. So if you're watching this and your idol tries to talk to you and whatever, just understand that it's not really appropriate for a 30-year-old man to be doing these things, okay? I want this story to really be heard because I feel like a lot of young girls could take something from it, and a lot of older people, parents, could look out for this kind of behavior, as all of this is really questionable now that I look back and I'm actually saying it out loud to somebody. So when I was 17, now this is the thing, 17 is the legal age of consent in New York City. There's a power dynamic there, and if you're not familiar with inappropriate power dynamics, it's like if your boss is trying to hook up with you, there's a power dynamic there. Older men and younger girls, inappropriate power dynamic. Rock stars or like famous people and fans, inappropriate power dynamic, on top of such a heavy age difference of 30 and 17. Like, that's extremely inappropriate. And back then I didn't think of it as that because, again, when you're a fan of someone and someone idolizes you, like he knew he was had such a heavy impact on me, why would you ever try to do anything with me? When I was 17, he actually did follow me, and he always kept tabs on me. He followed me on Twitter, and he would have me in his Instagram DMs all the time, like from just talking and interactions and stuff. And he messaged me and said, hope all is well. I guess he saw on my mom's Instagram that I was pregnant, and he messaged me, and he was trying to talk to me. And once he sent me his Snapchat, obviously I knew what he wanted, and I'm not going to sugarcoat things and say like, oh, I didn't want to do this, or I didn't want to talk to him. I 100% did, and that's the problem, is that he knew so easily I would do anything for him because of the fact that even though my little like star craze did die down with age, I still had a special place in my heart for this man because he was my like idol. Like, I literally like loved him. Like, I cared about him so much, and like I looked up to him. I looked up to this band. This music got me through so much. Like, it meant so much to me to have a personal relationship with him, and I always thought it would be so cool to say one day, well, we ended up friends, you know? So when he sent me his Snapchat, I quickly added him. Obviously told me don't give it out, and he trusted me very much because, again, like, he knows how much I look up to him, so he didn't ever think that I would cross him or try to hurt him or try to expose him. He trusted me very much. And so he gave me a Snapchat. We Snapchatted back and forth, and one thing led to another, and like almost immediately, like literally hours into us talking, not even, he started asking for pictures and saying inappropriate comments. And I'm not going to go into such detail about these comments, but like, he asked for blank and I sent him blank. Like, you can understand the picture there. And in the beginning, I was so excited to talk to him that I didn't care what I had to do, which he knew that. Like, that's the whole entire issue revolving around this, is that, like, you knew, I was impressionable, you knew you had an influence on me, you knew you were going to get what you wanted because I just wanted to talk to you and I wanted to make him happy. And I did exactly that. So after we talk, he had me on Snapchat, and we even FaceTimed on Skype before he gave me his number. And, he'd block me afterwards and not talk to me, and it would make me feel really bad from the very beginning. And that raised a very big red flag to me because it's like, obviously, if you're hiding something, if there's something to hide, then there's a reason why we're hiding it, and it was inappropriate, and he knew it was inappropriate, not to mention his girlfriend of like 6-7 years at the time. And this made me feel really bad, but he would always like manipulate me and tell me how sad he is and how unhappy he is with her. And it's just like, he totally manipulated me, and I like knew he was manipulating me, but at the same time, again, I wanted to make him happy, and to a degree, I did believe him a little bit. I wanted to believe him. So after we would like get off Skype or whatever, I would always feel really bad, and he ended up giving me his number, and we would text, and like, I remember being at the mall, and he would be like, FaceTime me when you're in the dressing room, and just a bunch of stuff like that. Like, obviously, he showed me his, just the whole 9 yards. It made me feel really bad afterwards. Blocked my number after he would talk to me. I guess his girlfriend was around, and this hurt me and made me feel like a secret and like side piece, and like I was doing something wrong by the woman too, even though it's 100% his fault. So I felt very guilty about this, and I actually blew up his phone, and I told him, like, don't do that to me. Like, I don't want to feel that way. Like, if anything, if I wanted to have any type of relationship with you, it was a friendship, it was a fan and idol relationship where we became friendly and personable, but like that's what I wanted. And he would say things like, I'm not using you, and like I would be with you, which that would never happen, and I knew that even then that would never happen. And things like, oh, I just really like talking to you, and it's like I would tell him, like, no, you just want blank, and then you block me, and I just don't like that. Like, that makes me feel bad. I've expressed this to him multiple times, that it made me feel bad, and to the point where I'm just not going to do it anymore. And so he said, no, I won't block you anymore. He stopped blocking me, and he tried talking to me even more. And I always said, like, you can't even have a real conversation with me. I've told him multiple times, especially months down the line of this going on, I said, it means the world to me. You meant the world to me. To have an actual conversation with you, to be able to talk about other bands with you, talk about your experiences, hear all your stories. That's what I wanted, not just this. And he would be like, well, I just can't help myself. And he would try to flatter me and make me feel special again. And I would just keep getting roped back into the same thing. So it did get to a point where I couldn't take it anymore, and it really made me feel so uncomfortable. And we weren't, like, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. We couldn't really interact as much as we used to, obviously, because it would look suspicious. And this really hurt me, because the best thing about our relationship prior to him being creepy was the fact that I was like that fan that he like really cared about, and like I thought he cared about me. I thought he cared about my well-being, but anyone that actually cared about me, knew my mom, and like told my mom that he would talk to me and like try to steer me in the right direction, would not be using me for what he was using me for. And it would make me feel so bad, and it would hurt me so much that I would even say it, and he still didn't care and still tried to manipulate me. So at one point, I was actually 18 at the time. It wasn't illegal. It's just the inappropriate power dynamic. Plus, he has admitted to those times when we did meet, I was 16 years old. I was literally underage. That is illegal. And he said, like, I would look at you this way, or I couldn't help but to look at your blank. I couldn't help but to see your blank. I couldn't stop staring at blank. And I couldn't stop thinking about when you turn 18, so that entire time that he was having interactions with me, it wasn't even really genuine. You groomed me. I never wanted to believe that, and I never wanted to think of it as that, because I idolized him so much, and I wanted that to stay a positive like experience, but it was not a positive experience. I was actually groomed, and I didn't realize that until like recently, honestly. I didn't understand that until I got a little bit older. And if anyone else were to go through this, if anyone watching this has gone through this, you need to know that like that is not okay. It's not okay for a grown man to keep you around and to manipulate you and use your problems, your personal problems, as a way to keep ties on you so that he could eventually hook up with you. That's so inappropriate, and that's something that's so well known in this genre of music, with these grown men doing this to their underage fans and their young, impressionable fans, that they obviously do recognize the fact that they are idolized by them. Like, that's just so inappropriate and so heartbreaking, because this was something that meant so much to me. I can't even listen to the music that I like anymore because so many of these people do the same exact things, and worse, honestly. So when I was 18, he asked me to come to meet him in a hotel in the city, and I said no, because at that time I realized that he was just now a thirsty guy in my DMs, and it was not special for me anymore. He was not anyone to be happy over. If anything, he pissed me off, and I told him that multiple times when he messaged me again. The reason that we like trailed off and stopped talking was because I would be blatantly rude and say like no, like just like any other guy trying to hook up with me or be gross or be a pig. No, the answer is no. Every time that he came to New York, he did let me know, until we eventually just fell off altogether. I actually deleted him off of Snapchat. I unfollowed him. I changed all my usernames and stuff, and I actually got into a relationship. So I obviously had no reason to even stay in contact with him anyway, and he ruined that for me altogether. But looking back at this now, and I actually just messaged him recently, and I want to confront him about this personally before I come out with his name and see if he even sees anything wrong with what he's done, because maybe he could have fooled me at 17, but you're definitely not going to tell me now as a mother, and as much of I've had such bad I've had such bad experiences with older men, and I really have been coming to terms with the fact that I've been used and exploited many times, and this is one of the worst situations because it was someone that I trusted so much, and it really did break my heart that he did this. So I am going to say something to him personally, especially before I release his name and stuff, and say, like, you hurt me or whatever. He did add me back on the platform that I added him, and I did message him, and we haven't had a chance to talk yet, but I am going to say all of this to him because it just hurts me so bad, and I feel like so many other girls, I actually thought I was the only girl. Like, obviously I was not the only girl. Obviously there are probably plenty of others, and if he has this entire secret Snapchat that he even added my mom on, he did not make that Snapchat for me. He did not make that Skype account for me. He definitely does this with other girls, and the fact that he did say that he looked at me when I was 16 is extremely questionable and inappropriate, and that really scares me. So the reason that I'm talking about this today is obviously self-explanatory. I think it is so inappropriate how many men have platforms and they use their fans. Like, their fans are the ones that are giving them money, that give them a platform to begin with, that are their biggest supporters, obviously, and they use them. And it's been time and time again. It's something that's not spoken about enough. It's something that's not taken seriously. And even when allegations are come out in the open, and even when there is undeniable proof of these things, these men somehow still get away with it, still produce music, and still have a fan base. We should really take away these platforms from these men that don't know how to handle young girls following them without completely being inappropriate with them. They're making music for young girls that are obviously going through something, because think about all these bands. What do they, like, the music that they have in common is that it's like relatable. It's like things that are like really get young girls to follow them, because that's the target audience, are young girls. Like, all these bands, Pierce the Veil, Sleeping with Sirens, All Time Low, all of them, the music is usually listened to by 13 to like 16, 17, and I would even still listen to it today if I didn't know all that I know about all these guys doing all these horrible things to girls and making them feel so bad about themselves, using them, and then coming out and saying, oh, that never happened. Oh, that never happened. You could have all the proof in the world. You could literally have video footage somehow, and they will get out of it. And it's just ridiculous. And they are always protected because they have money, they have fans, and people don't really care. Like, oh yeah, he was inappropriate. Well, this song's good. I'm going to listen anyways. I'm not, because it's just so disgusting that your entire platform is built around girls that you're going to use. These are the same girls that let you go on world tours. These are the same girls that let you produce merch and music and live your dream. And their dream is to meet you or be with you or be your friend or have interactions with you appropriately. And even if young girls say, oh, I would love to blank him or whatever, you are the adult and you are the one with more power in this situation. It is your job to be a good example, especially when you know your target audience is young girls. And this happens all the time. Like, the first time I heard about it was Front Porch Set. And then look at Austin Jones. I even went to see him in concert back in the day. I have a picture of him kissing me on the cheek somewhere. Like, and then it comes out that he is obsessed with 13, 12-year-old girls. Like, these people shouldn't have platforms if they can't properly handle having all this power and young girls. Like, it's just terrible. You're a young girl and your idol is trying to talk to you. I need you to know that regardless if he's famous or whatever, a 30-year-old man, a real true man, wants nothing to do with a 17-year-old. Nothing to do with a 17-year-old. Even if it's legal, there's just such a power dynamic there. And a teenager, and a grown man have nothing in common. Especially if it's a fan, they do know that fan is going to do whatever it takes to make their idol happy. Like, that's just a normal thing. And it's not fair how many men exploit that and use that. It's actually scary and horrible. And even just in general, like, forget about fame. Like I said, there's nothing that a 30-year-old man should want with a 17-year-old girl. That girl is naive, she's impressionable, and then you throw in the whole idol and fan dynamic, and it just makes it totally inappropriate, and there is no way that should be allowed. Like, that shouldn't happen, even if it was legal, even if whatever. That is just so unethical, and I just don't support that. Plus, this man has a girlfriend, and she's been with him for like 8 years now. And it's like, I don't want to be attacked by him. I don't want to be attacked by her. I don't want to hear that didn't happen, because obviously I could make them break up very quickly. And it's just something that I need to, depending on how this video goes and depending on how my conversation with him goes, then maybe I will release his name, and maybe, I don't know, maybe. But it's just, right now, I just want people to know that this is not right. This is not fair. This is a huge problem that's not talked about nearly enough, because we put these men on a pedestal, we give them a fan base, we give them so much fame, they're glorified, and they abuse it. They abuse it. None of them are good role models. None of them are good people. Like, obviously, you're not even a good person if you're cheating on your girlfriend, let alone with a 17-year-old fan, your biggest fan. Like, why would you do that? Why would you take that away from me? Like, that was something so special to me, and I told him many times, you completely ruined that for me. That will never be the same. I'll never be able to even listen to your music. I've even told him that his music now sucks. Like, I literally don't care anymore. And that's something that I could have looked back at. Like, wow, when I was in high school, I love this band. And the guy that I loved actually, like, talked to me all the time. Like, look how cool this is. We stay in contact. He follows me. Like, we're on good terms. No, I can't ever say that, because he took advantage of me. And he took advantage of the fact that he knew that I cared about him. And that is so disgusting and so unethical. And he does not deserve a platform. That entire band does not deserve their platform. Most of these bands don't deserve their platform and don't deserve their fame anymore. Side note, this band, I've been to many concerts and I've seen so many girls get on their tour bus. Like, so many girls. And I know girls that have videos because they said no recording allowed, no whatever, but you can come on the bus and you could do whatever with us, or you could bring drinks or whatever. Which, why are you even letting little girls do? Like, it just makes no sense to me. And so I'm definitely not the only one. He's definitely not the only one in the band. As the lead singer, he comes off as like this, oh, he loves everyone and he's such a good role model. He's not. He literally was an alcoholic, and he was not nice to his fans, and I can't even tell you how many times he was just blatantly rude, and they just use their fans. That's pretty much the basis of this entire story. That's the whole premise of this, is that I was used by someone that I idolize very much, and I hate to see this happen. And sometimes it happens even worse. Sometimes girls are naive and will go meet up with them, and then they feel terrible about themselves and terrible things happen, because look at Davi. Like, look at that entire case. How is he not in jail? I don't understand it. Like, how do men get away with this stuff? And young girls are not going to stop being young, naive girls. It's the adult's responsibility to be the adult. Like, you do not deserve this platform if you cannot control yourself. That's just absolutely mind-boggling to me. So, with that being said, that is my story. It's very heart-wrenching for me, because something was really taken away from me that I really cared about, and I was used, and I felt terrible about myself, and I feel terrible about the entire situation to this day. I still get anxiety about it, and I still think about it, and I still want to say more, and I just can't, because I am scared of the backlash. I am scared of what people are going to say to me. I am scared of what he's going to say, what his girlfriend's going to say, and it's just something I'm going to need to take time with coming to terms with. But I definitely did want to say the story, at least without his name, because it is such a major problem, and it's not just this band. It's like all of those bands, and it's getting out of control, and I don't know why or what could be done to stop it. But the first step is just letting people know that, like, he's using you. If a grown man is coming to you and he's asking you for that, and he's telling you he's sad, that's not your responsibility. Please don't make the same mistakes that I did, because in the end you're gonna feel worse. It might feel really cool in the beginning that your idol or whatever is trying to talk to you and that they want something from you, but that's all they want from you. And if they really respected you or cared about you, that is not what they would be looking for. That's not the way that they should treat you. That's not how any grown man should treat a young girl. It's really not, in my opinion. And it's sad to let go and part with someone that, like, you looked up to, but we need to stop so quickly idolizing men when they really don't care. You don't really know somebody well enough just by them being a public figure, a YouTuber, a rock star, whatever it is. That doesn't make them a good person. That doesn't make them someone to idolize. And a lot of these men take advantage of young girls, and I'm, like, sick and tired of hearing about it, and I'm sick and tired of nothing being done about it, because they, like, all get away with it. They make a quick statement saying, I've done things I've done bad things in the past, but I've never done blah, 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 blah. No, you probably did. This girl has like every screenshot, and I don't understand why anybody would sit here and lie. I know cancel culture is a problem, and I'm sure there are girls that do lie, but for me specifically, and like for so many others that had undeniable proof, like why would I sit here and waste my time? Why would I not listen to that? Why would I forfeit something that was so good because I want clout? Like I know. I want people to understand that this goes on all the time, and if you're a parent, you need to watch your kids with these rock stars. You need to watch them with their idols. If they're interacting, like there's a big possibility it could be inappropriate and your child might be exploited. And if you are a young girl watching this, you need to understand that you can't trust everybody, and even when you think people are good, sometimes they're not, and men do take advantage of young girls, and it's something at this day and age and always you need to be aware of, because it happens a lot, and it happens a lot in this scene and in this terrible, awful power dynamic. It happens way too often. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my entire story, and I know that there are much worse stories, and there are people that really put themselves on the line and full-blown do come out and say the person's name and show receipts, and I know that I'm not doing that, but my story is just another great example of why we really need to be cautious about who we give a platform to, and the type of scenes that are extremely inappropriate if you really do dive into them and look. You guys obviously follow me, you know the kind of videos I make, you know the whole Nathan case, and you know that this entire issue goes hand in hand almost, and it's like, what is wrong with the world? You know, Nathan, he's obviously whatever he is, but it's not just men like him. It's also, it could be family members, it could be your idol, and that's just, it's so bad. Especially this specific music scene, it is a really bad problem, and almost every single band that I know and listen to has allegations against them with proof, and nothing is done about it, and people still go to their concerts, and they still have fan bases, and it is just unfair. And it's unfair to all the girls that do speak out and use their names and then get hate or get told you're a liar or get told this and that. It's not fair, because if it was you, you would feel really bad about it too. You would feel really upset that something was taken away from you that actually meant something to you. Like I said, this band's music meant a lot to me. This man meant a lot to me. He's someone I looked up to. I even looked up to his girlfriend. I like really put them up on a pedestal just to be hurt in the end and taken advantage of. Like, my mom is totally aware about what ended up happening, and she did open up to me about the things that he said to her too, and I have all the receipts, I have all the proof, and I could even get him probably to admit all of this. I mean, once his video hits, if he does see it, probably not. But I am going to confront him about it. I'm not scared of him. I do have enough proof to expose him if I wanted to, but I wanted to just come out and say how wrong it is that this happens all the time to not just me, but to many other girls, and in many worse situations. Like, mine is a very least of the stuff that I've heard and seen and how bad it can get, because I can't imagine how many girls will actually go the full 9 yards for the person that they really care about and try to make them happy. Like, I can't imagine if I actually did go meet up with him how bad I would have felt after that, and that's why I didn't do it. But I know there are a lot of girls that do, and like, it's not their fault, it's the adults. Like, again, I guess the biggest lesson here is that you can't trust everybody, and we really need to stop giving platforms to these types of men and these bands, and it's an ongoing issue that really needs to be talked about, and I feel like no one says it enough. So I really wanted to share my personal experience, and I wanted to give advice and really make it known that it happens way too often, and even people that don't open up and talk about it, it happens too, and it happens a lot, and it's not cool, it's not fun, it's actually heartbreaking, and it was something I really needed to heal from, because something was really taken away from me that meant a lot to me. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you think about the situation, and if I should actually come out and say his name. I'm curious to know other people's opinions. I've asked a lot of people and I've got mixed answers, and I'm just really confused and hurt by this, but I can't help but to wonder how many girls would step forward and say me too, and have, like, you know, their own stories or bad experiences with this man or this band in general, as I know that there's not a lot of allegations around this specific band, but I've seen inappropriate behavior myself firsthand besides even my story. So leave me a comment down below and let me know, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.